We're officially on the road, witches, and it's a series of escape rooms. I love it. I think this is a fabulous choice because IRL, in real life, Disney can build real Witches Road escape room experiences. Why not? Universal Studios has escape rooms in the City Walk area. They currently offer them for both Jurassic World and Back to the Future. Have any of you done them? I've done a few escape rooms. They're harder than they look. You're like, oh, this is going to be so easy. And then you're like, this is actually somewhat difficult. They're fun, though. They're fun. And I have to say, I would love to do a Witches Road escape room experience, particularly around Halloween. How about you? Wouldn't you like to do that? They have a slide too. Build it, build it, build it. I'm surprised how bad the D23 Expo version was, but this is just screaming to be built. I hope the show is successful. They still haven't released any viewership numbers, which makes me a little nervous because usually they would have done that by now. All right, well, we're having fun. All right, so I've seen, as you know, 4 episodes in total of this show, 4 of the 9. 2 were last week, this one, and next week's. And so that means I've seen 2 episodes where we're fully on the Witches Road. And no spoilers, but I will say I've detected a pattern that we can start to discuss today. And that's these houses. Each house, each escape room is different. By the way, do you get it? It's the legend of a witch's house on a lonely road in the woods. It's so clever. Jack Schaefer, I think she's a delight. So what are the variations? The style of the house. This one is Nicole Kidman miniseries or also Nancy Meyers movie. There's an overlap between the two, and I find it hilarious. It's extremely well done from the set design to the makeovers. Let's talk about the makeovers. Oh, they're so fun. Who's your favorite makeover? This is a game we can play with all the episodes. So this week, I'd have to go with Agatha with her impeccable hair and manicure. I noticed the French tips. And then Teen gets runner-up as he looks so different from his usual look, but still adorable in his little sweater. Then there's also on the door of each house the phases of the moon, and the phase that's in the center indicates the manner of death if you fail. In this case, the water phase. And then also each house spotlights a different witch to lead the way out. As Agatha explains, the road will test, this is a very, very specifically written show. So the road will test us on our knowledge of the craft, one trial for each skill. That's why they made the effort to tell us what kind of witch each one was. And while most of these witches, of course, don't have their magic, their power, or are running at full power, Teen points out that there's always analog magic, right? And I was like, do you mean like card tricks? No. He means the labor-intensive manual act of magic, witchcraft, emphasis on the craft. What a line. I love that. And he, of course, is very good at he's very good at craft because that's all he has at the moment. His little notebook that he's been writing everything down in. All he's missing is the magic. And that's, of course, why he, like all these witches, wants to walk the road. So this week, the house, the escape room, is all about potions. The Pink Witch, Jennifer Kale's, she is the potions witch. It is her specialty. Now, I also believe that the theme of each house matches the witch who's being challenged. As Jennifer says, she looks like one of her customers, right? This is the home of the type of woman who would buy from Jennifer Kale, buy her beauty line. And sure enough, the bathroom is full of it. So clever. But also in this case, there's a little bit of an overlap because the theme is also a welcome sight for Mrs. Hart, aka Sharon, who says she'd love to be buried in that kitchen. Well, be careful what you wish for, Sharon. Or as Agatha said, who? Especially on the Witches' Road. That's right! They killed Mrs. Hart! Or did they? Do you really think Mrs. Hart is dead? This is still a Disney show after all. Although they killed Maria Hart over on Secret Invasion. So maybe. Right? She is like poor Maria Hart. Was she, Maria Hill. Was she like a sea-level character? Kind of. But anyway, she shouldn't have been, but she was. But will Mrs. Hart somehow magically be resurrected at the end of the series? I wouldn't be surprised if she was, with a quip ready to go about how this was the worst party. Maybe she'll end up saying it was a great party. Who knows? We'll see. I think that she's already been complaining an awful lot. I think it was time for Mrs. Hart to go, to be honest with you. What did you think? I mean, she was so fun. She was great in this episode, but you know what? We need the suburban non-witch to be dead because ding dong, we need the real green witch, Rio Vidal, to show up, right? So why did Mrs. Hart die, right? Well, as the saying goes, the devil is in the details. And Mrs. Hart, you might have noticed, drank 2 servings of the wine, aka poison, but was only given 1 serving of the antidote. Speaking of the devil, we got an actual Mephisto shout out. How many of you were like, oh, what? Mephisto? Finally. Jack Schaefer's like, that Mephisto's caused me so many problems. But Jennifer Kale pulls Teen aside and she's like, you got to watch out for Agatha. And Teen is so sweet. He's such a Agatha stan. He's like, she's not that bad. But Jennifer Kale's like, bitch, she is that bad. Let me tell you what she did. So I'm surprised in all of his studies, Teen never heard about this. Maybe that's a clue that he didn't hear about this because maybe this is about him. So anyway, Jennifer Kale says the rumor is that Agatha traded her own son for the Darkhold. And Jennifer says nobody knows what happened to Nicholas Scratch. He could be dead, a demon, an agent of Mephisto. She said the thing. But Alex, you know what? I'm going to go for all 3. Why couldn't Teen be a dead demon who's working for Mephisto? Ding, 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 ding. We'll see. But you know what? The Wiccan teases that have been running in the recent ads for this show are like out of control. They're ridiculous. They're like, is he Wiccan? I don't know if he's Wiccan. What do you think? And you're like, that's Wiccan. What are you talking about? He's doing the Wiccan stuff. But all these Nicholas Scratch hints aren't for nothing either. So who is Teen? Let's have our latest session in this series of discussions. So the sigil, we found out it's a sigil, is still holding. And none of the witches can know who he is. Why not have Mrs. Hart just ask him who he is? I mean, I guess I'm sure the sigil can't be that easily worked around. But I would have given it a try. Although I guess maybe Agatha, they all still think she's a witch at that. Who was falling? They knew. They were like, she's clearly not a witch. She's looking for cell phone service. But yeah, they're all curious as to why someone would try to hide his identity from witch folk. So there's a very good chance he might be valuable. So they're all like, intrigued. Now, I've seen some people already bring this up as well, but I want to talk about it here too. So, because I think the plot thickens. So now remember that car crash that Agatha mentioned in episode 1 when she was investigating the murder. There was a car crash in Eastview with 2 burst airbags in the front seat and bloodstains in the back. Now, Teen, of course, is from Eastview, and maybe he was in the car. Maybe his boyfriend was as well. Maybe that's why his boyfriend was calling. Maybe he's looking for him. He's like, where'd you go? Maybe Teen died in that car accident and the soul of Billy Maximoff took over, just like in the comics. That's how Billy Kaplan became that's how he became Wanda's son, basically. He became Wiccan. But, maybe it's not Billy Kaplan this time around. Maybe it's Nicholas Scratch, who grew up in Eastview this whole time. But then when he died in this accident, Billy Maximoff took over Nicholas Scratch's body, and Wanda and Agatha's sons are combined. Oh, I like it. I'm not sure if that's what we're doing here, but I would like that quite a bit. I think that would be excellent. I'd be like, oh, Jack Schaefer, Jennifer's not the only one cooking here. So Jennifer says, and this is also great, speaking of great dialogue, Jennifer says she doubts that Agatha would even recognize her own son if he showed up on her doorstep. Ooh, oh, I love it. Showrunner Jack Schaefer has said that she was surprised at how fans really dug into WandaVision for their theories, and she wasn't going to, leave loose ends like she did before. She learned her lesson. So that line is no accident. There are no accidents on this show because Jack Schaefer was embarrassed just a scooch. But I wouldn't say embarrassed, but she was like, she's not doing that again. She's not going to I hope not. She's not going to Ralph Boner us again. If she Ralph Boner me once, shame on you. Ralph Boner me twice, shame on me. Let's hope that's not what we have to say at the end of Agatha. And Agatha does feel a connection with Teen. The only way that she agrees to drink the wine/poison was because Teen said that if she wouldn't, he would. I love when he gets tough, right? Like, he's such a sweet boy, but that doesn't mean he's a pushover. And that's the only reason she's willing to risk her safety for his. We saw it. We see it. So how does this poison work? First, everyone gets too much plastic surgery face, which is hilarious, but also a little sad. I saw some woman in the news the other day who actually looked exactly like that. And then they have hallucinations. Before death is what comes, and they have 30 minutes, complete with very nice timer. And what do you know? That's about how much time this sequence takes in the actual show. What do we got, 24 here? I love it. It's very clever writing to have Mrs. Hart go first, then most of the group, but then Agatha last, because the staggered timing allows for anticipation to unfold, right? For us to play along, because we know what's going to happen. You know, like at first we're surprised, then we wait for it, and then we're like, what's going to happen with Agatha? Very nice writing. I also liked, by the way, how the wine glass kept refilling every time Agatha tried to get rid of her portion of the wine. All right, now let's talk witches. Bitches, I can't help myself. All right, so Agatha. Agatha is the most nervous, as she's the only one who's walked the road before. She knows how deadly it can be. She's also the only one who keeps looking for an escape, although you would think that from her first time down the road, she would know that there aren't any. But the fact that she's looking for some, maybe that means that sometimes there are. Did Agatha survive the witch's road the first time? By cheating. You know, she already brought up cheating when Teen said he wanted to walk the road to get power, and she's like, oh, I see you. You want to cheat. Maybe like mother, like son. Agatha's hallucination is actually pretty sad. It's a baby bassinet, but what's inside is actually the Darkhold. More Nicholas Scratch references. Jack Schaefer's overdoing it a little bit, but I mean, she really wants to make it clear, so let's pay attention. All right, next up, Alice. By the way, I'm currently watching screeners for season 2 of The Diplomat, which will be debuting at the end of October on Netflix. Great show. Love it. Loved season 1. Loving season 2. And I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, Ali is on this show, where she does a much better job. It's night and day between the two roles. The Diplomat takes so much, and that's, by the way, also a female showrunner. Deborah Icanner. I'll put her up here. She's very good as well. That's highly recommend The Diplomat. But I can't believe how, I think that, sorry, Jack Schaefer, you're not taking as good a care of our friend Allie. But still, Alice's story here continues to be very interesting. Oh, that's all I'll say for now. But I'll talk about what we learned in this episode. So we learned that this protection witch has a protection tattoo that her mother insisted she get back when back when they went and did a show when Alice was younger in Colorado at Red Rocks. I watched the Bill Burr comedy special, which was also shot there. What an incredible venue. Have any of you ever been there in real life? It is a real place that you can go. And it's been hosting concerts actually since 1901, but I think its current setup has been since 1941. Isn't that incredible? That's amazing, especially because it looks so modern. Modern art, always been around, my friends. So anyway, Alice was there in the 70s, it seems, because that's the time period of her hallucination. And her hallucination features her mother, this famous singer who also happens to be a witch, and of course recorded the Ballad of the Witch's Road that has become a world-famous song. Alice's mother insists that the women in their family are cursed, and when Alice's grandmother dies in that hallucination, her mother is remembering it, and her mother says, I just felt my mother passing, which means I'm next, and then you. And then she's holding a lighter. So fire, maybe, right? And we learn that Alice's mother cares deeply about protecting her daughter. And that's also what she fears, not being able to protect her. She screams at her daughter, I can't protect you. That was pretty amazing. Lot of juicy details in that hallucination. All right, next up, Lilia. And what's going on with Lilia? She's continuing to have like these visions where something like takes over her body, and she shouts out, try to save Agatha. We'll see what's up with that. That's interesting. As for her hallucination, this was the most mysterious of the hallucinations. I'm trying to decide what she saw. What's your theory? I think maybe she's seeing a version of Agatha's brooch, the maiden, the mother, and the crone, aka death, right? And the era of the clothing seemed very Inquisition-y to me. I'm not sure which Inquisition. I looked it up. There have been a lot of Inquisitions, actually. But I think the point is to underline that Lilia is a much older witch than the other witches and harkens back to a dangerous time for witches way before Salem. You know, we get a lot of Salem references with Agatha, but clearly Lilia is old school, like from, you know, old school Europe, European witches. On that note, I think she's speaking Italian when Agatha finds her, right? Did you catch what language that was? I tried to feed it into Google Translate. Didn't quite work out. So technology, not quite there yet. Then finally, Jennifer. This is her house, her challenge. And that gorgeous kitchen is a fitting place to cook up a potion. It was a very nice kitchen. Teen keeps referencing his parents, by the way. Earlier on the road, he was like, oh, they're definitely asleep, meaning his parents are not big partiers, if, you know, he assumed it was nighttime. And then also he brings up that his dad is an experienced cook. So I wonder why he keeps bringing up his parents. I'm interested in that as well. I really like showcasing how ingredients for a witch's potion are actually not that scary when you put them in modern terms. Frankincense oil can actually be found often with eucalyptus, because I was looking this up. I was like, why does eucalyptus lead to frankincense? Well, sometimes they're mixed, apparently. The gut of a huge social instinct, that's honey. I knew that was honey as soon as they said it. Eye of newt, mustard seed? What? When we eat mustard, is that just liquid eye of newt? That's weird. And a corpse that's been decomposing for at least 30 million years. I got that one too. We all know, you know, dinosaurs, right? They make up gasoline, but also petroleum comes in jelly form, as in Vaseline. Gasoline, Vaseline. Interesting. And as Agatha correctly guesses, Jennifer's beauty products aren't as organic as she says. Although wouldn't Vaseline be okay? But I guess not. I guess it's a cheat maybe. So Jennifer's hallucination is back to when she was bound, cut off from her magic. And since I watched another great show, The Nick, very good show, you should try and check that out as well, I know that that's a doctor from around 1920. And what do you know? Jennifer said she's been bound for around 100 years. He says, now you're nothing in the hallucination. How does a doctor know how to bind a witch? That's also a mystery. Another mystery is that when Agatha is giving Jennifer her pep talk, Agatha says she always left Jennifer alone, even though she hated her, because she knew what Jennifer was doing was important. What was Jennifer doing? I hope we find out. Very interesting. All right, so the potion works with the help of the blood of someone who didn't drink the poison. Agatha has no problem cutting Teen's hand, but I guess it's in the, you know, that's the family business. But very cool sequence all around. I really enjoyed it. I liked when there was lightning in the pot. I was like, oh, all this is missing and is like a good old-fashioned witch chant as you guys stir, but they didn't do it. I guess they can't sing all the time. And how did they get out? Having to crawl into an oven. Great witches reference. And sure enough, Lilia says she knows a witch who had that situation. Is she referencing Hansel and Gretel? Does she go back to like German fairy tales to a degree? Wouldn't that be interesting? I wonder, you know, we've seen some previews of like a fairy tale kind of situation. Not the Wizard of Oz, but the Alice in Wonderland fairy tale tease from the trailers. I wonder if that'll be Lilia's house, you know, her challenge. I also thought it was a very nice touch that the protection witch, Alice, was the last to go out into the oven because she wanted to make sure that everybody else got in. And down a slide. Again, a slide! This road looks like a real hoot. Although not for everyone, because while they all physically got out of the house, they didn't all make it. Because again, Mrs. Hart is dead. And that's our cliffhanger ending. Oh, where's Rio? Shout out to some of my favorite lines in the episode. I want to hear yours as well. This is another game we can play every week. So some of my favorite lines that I haven't already spotlighted, but these are so good I had to give them a shout out. Was that there before? And then Agatha says, maybe we should stop asking that. You're like, thank you. I don't want to hear that every 5 seconds either. Then when Mrs. Hart says, we don't want to surprise anyone, and Agatha says, don't we? And that great mischievous look on her face, and then barges right in. Catherine Hahn doing such an amazing job, right? And then on that note, I think potentially my favorite line this episode would be when Agatha downs the wine and she says, oh my God, so cheap. Like it was just so disgusting, the cheapness of the wine. That was a great line, delivered extremely well. Loved it. So what did you think of episode 3 now that we're fully on the Witch's Road? What do you think of it? How do you like this interpretation of the road? Was it what you hoped? Better? Less? What are your thoughts? now that we're like, this is what the show is kind of going to be, at least for a couple of episodes. And what are your latest theories, right? Who is Teen? Do you have any updates on that? Is Mrs. Hart really dead? Do you want her to be? And then also, who are your favorite witches so far? Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.